Okay, so today in class, we went over how to do masking and how to keep our layers clean and organized. But we did recap how to bring images into a document and making sure that the document size is correct for Photoshop. So let me kind of go over from the start. I'm going to go quickly, but you can always pause and rewind with a video. So the first thing we did was we said create new, and there should be a pop-up window that pops up. Mine popped up somewhere else. Hold on, let me grab it. There we go. So this pop-up window comes up. You want to go to the print settings just to filter to make sure we get everything correct. Your document should be called last name, first name, and EOS, because it's evidence of self. It should be a 12, what did we say? 12, yes, by 18 inch document. You can be vertical or horizontal, it's up to you. 300 resolution for our pixels per inch, and our color mode is going to be CMYK color, and our background contents are going to be transparent. So let's bring this down a little. There we go. Color profile is fine to leave it as is, working CMYK, and say create. You will end up with something that looks kind of like this. The next thing you want to do is you want to bring your images into this document. There are multiple ways to do this. One of the ways, which might be working right now for you if you have Citrix. If you don't have Citrix, you might have to set this up. It's the Google Drive system, or on a device that's a personal device, it would be called Google Backup and Sync. If you can download Google Backup and Sync, you can tell it to only sync one folder. That way, it's not syncing everything, just the one folder, and you can get that to work so you can save as or open files directly from your Google Drive. So if you're on a personal device, it looks like this. You would go to Google Backup and Sync, just Google it, go to Backup and Sync, download Backup and Sync. Once it opens, you can see mine's over here on the bottom right-hand corner. Once I installed that, I was able to open that application, and in what pops up first is your preferences. So in these preferences, you want to set it so that when it says on your Mac or on your PC, you want to either say nothing or select just create one blank folder that sits on your desktop that will sync to your Google Drive. So I did that, but you don't have to. You could just say nothing. Don't back up anything here, okay? Then go to your second choice here, which says Google Drive. Here is where you want to sync one folder. That would be the graphic design folder that you created. Hopefully you put an asterisk on it so it stays at the top. It's easier to find that way. That's the one folder that I am syncing to this computer, is my graphic design Spring 21 folder, okay? And then settings here, I just left that alone, it's fine. I say okay. What that does is it syncs. I can see this little icon up here. If you have a Mac, this icon pops up here and shows you what you have synced. And in here, once you're in Photoshop, you can say File, and you can say Open, maybe. Here we go. Open, there. And it will give you the choice to pick from your Google Drive, in which case you have this wonderful moment of being able to pick from this graphic design folder, and you can pick your Photoshop file. So you can see here, I already have a file in here that I can pick from, but I'm gonna start from 0 here just so that we can be together starting from scratch, okay? Please, I would suggest using Backup and Sync, and if you have Citrix, you should be able to access your Google Drive at this point. Let me know if you cannot. Okay, I'm gonna say cancel on mine. Let's pretend we're starting from scratch. I've got to open some images, so I'm going to either I am going to File, Place Embedded, And I can go straight, like I said, to this Google file and I can get to my images here. Okay, so let me just grab this one. I'll say place. And there it is, and I can scale it up. And I can twist it. I want to fill up the whole screen with this particular image. Then I'm going to say, okay, click that, check. All right, next thing I want to do is, again, file, place embedded. And I want to grab again from that same file. And this time I want to grab a different file, and I'm going to grab this girl, Mia, from graduating last year, and I'm going to place her in here, okay? Now, I'm going to, again, just click the check mark. If you don't see these marks on the corners that allow you to spin and scale your design, make sure that while you are on the Move tool, that this box is checked that says Show Transform Controls. That will allow you to scale up and down and adjust this image, and just push check mark. Okay, so now I have two layers over here. I have my layers window open. You should always have your layers window open so that you can see your layers. That's crucial. All right. Next thing I have open is this little window called History. If you don't see the option for History, you can go to Window, History, and make sure it's checked, because my history, I can always go back a step in my history. And it's really handy way to kind of go back. If you mess up, you can just kind of go back a step and start from there. Okay. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to label these layers. I want to keep them clean. So I'm going to double click on the text, and I'm just going to rename this grad. And I'm going to double click on this text, and I'm going to name it background. Okay. All right. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to be able to mask this image. So I basically cut out the background. Now there's multiple ways to do this, and we are going to talk about the multiple ways to do this. But today we are just going to go over the basic way to mask an item or an image. So the first thing we need to do right now is we need to rasterize these two layers. Then if you see this little icon on the bottom right-hand corner of your layers, you know that they are not rasterized yet, which means they are linked to outside sources. So we want to rasterize them first, okay? You can do that a couple easy ways. One, you can just click Control and click in the gray area, and that will bring up this pop-up window. Sometimes pushing right-click will also work if you have a mouse with a right-click. Or control click and get to that rasterized layer, and you'll see that little icon go away and it's rasterized. If you don't have the option to push control click or right click, and alt click doesn't work either, then the other option you have is click on the layer that you'd like to rasterize and then go up to layer and say rasterize. Just say rasterize smart object. And it will rasterize that smart object, which was what it was before. And now we are good to go because we have lost those two icons and we know we can work on the document now. Before we rasterized, if we tried to do anything, it would not have let us. So now that we have rasterized, we can do it. Okay, so I have two layers. They are labeled. They are rasterized. I'm ready to start working on them. Next thing I want to do is I want to do masking. I'm going to put a mask on this layer. I want to mask this layer here of the grad, right? So I'm going to click on this little icon that is at the bottom of your layers tab. It looks like a white rectangle with a gray circle in the middle. It looks like just like that. So it says add layer mask. I'm going to click that and you'll see what happens is you should get this white piece of paper next to your image. I'm now ready to mask. This is my mask. You can see, you can pick which thing you are working on. The brackets will move depending on if you want to work on the mask or if you want to work on the image. We want to work on the mask right now, so the brackets are on the mask. Now, in order to mask her off, we need to use the correct tool. The tool we want to use here is the paintbrush. The regular old paintbrush, we want to make sure that our colors are black and white, which is usually what it's going to default to when you're in mask mode. And you can see this little bent arrow up here will flip the colors from black to white here, okay? So I'm going to start with black on top, with my paintbrush. And I also have some controls up here at the top where I can choose the hardness of my brush and the size of my brush, okay? So here we are now, and you'll see what happens if I just start scribbling on top of this. You can see I am basically erasing, but it's not a destructive edit. It is only masking. So by using the paintbrush on black, on the mask, and you can see what the mask has done over here, I am erasing part of this or masking part of this image. If I want to change my mind, I can flip over here on the left. I can flip these colors back to white, and I can put it right back. Okay? So this right here is the basic way to mask something, and I want you to do this, not erasing, when it comes to cutting the background away from your images. All right, so you're going to kind of work your way around it, and obviously I want to be on black here. Work your way around and think about the brush itself. If it's all the way hard, you're really going to come up with a very harsh edge. It's going to be a look, but I don't know if it's the look you really want. Okay. If you soften up the edges of your brush a little bit, about halfway, it still does a very crisp job, but it gives a little bit of a blend. You can see the difference between her shoulders here. There's a little bit of a softer blend versus the harsh kind of chisel of the brush. Another thing to note is if you wanted to do a straight line, like if I wanted to get rid of this entire straight line, I could click one click and then move, push shift and click again, and it basically will connect those two dots. So click, hold shift, and click again, and it will connect from those two dots. So click, hold shift, and then click again, and it basically will make a straight line. Another tip is to make this brush bigger, you can use the bracket keys that are next to the letter P on the keyboard. All right, that helps to make your brush much bigger really quickly. Be careful because you don't want to fade in when you're masking here and end up with like somebody's face that's half transparent. If I made this brush really big and I put my hardness on 0, watch what happens to her face. See how it fades all the way to her nose? Because it's such a soft brush that it has a very wide spread outside of that actual line there. So be careful not to make the subject transparent while you're working on cutting them out. Okay? And then I can switch it back to white and I can bring this tassel back. I can zoom in. To zoom in, the quick way to do that, there are multiple ways to do everything, but the quick way to zoom in will be to use space command. You see, if you hold space, you can move around. So that's a good one. All right. And if you add the command button next to it, it will be a zoom. If you add the alt or option button next to it, it zooms out. So you can see it's good to get in close, work around, work very, very specifically when you're cutting things out. You can see through her hair a little bit here. So I need to flip that back to white and draw that part back in so you can't see branches through her head. So that is how you mask. You are using the brush, you are using a mask over here in your layers, and you are using black and white and working through bracket keys next to my P to make this bigger, working through and masking off so that you have an image that you are ready to use. And you want to do this to all your images. I want you to start masking all your images so they're all ready to go. Once they're masked, then we'll be able to come in and put them wherever we want them. I can still go back. I can use my move tool with her. I can scale her down. I can put her somewhere else. I am going to show you next class how to put something behind a window so it looks like she's in the window or on top of the building or behind something, that kind of stuff. I'm going to show you how to use some blend modes and how to really, really switch things around next class. But that's what we did in this class. So please mask all your items and then make sure, last but not least, that you save. File, save as, I need to apply this first, and put it in your Google Drive. So I'm going to save mine right here. How convenient. and say save. Okay, and then I can close it out. It says it's gonna save after it's done. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you on Wednesday.